안녕하세요 여러분. I'm Prabha.
And I'm Sandhya.
And I'm Johnny.
And this is episode 2 of Discovering Culture. Just like most of you, we love K-pop too. Some of our favorite bands are EXO, Big Bang, Sonushde, 2NE1, 70, Stray Kids, and BTS. In this episode, we're exploring the possibility of hosting a big K-pop concert in India.
K-pop has seen an exponential growth in recent years. But what could be the reason behind that?
I think us as Indians as well, we love great productions. We love beautiful visuals. We love slick choreographies and fantastic vocals. I think we're kind of already, we have a proclivity towards that already. I just think that mixed with the fact that K-pop or music coming out of Korea also over the last 2 years especially started becoming more globalized. And it's such an immersive world, right? There's so much content apart from just great music, great visuals and great choreography. There's wonderful stories in there as well. And I just think that captures the hearts and minds of the public. And that's exactly what happened in India.
Now is the right time where the world is ready to receive artists who are performing in different languages, who want to introduce their culture. And a lot of Korean artists, like the Latin artists, are able to modernize tradition and celebrate where they come from in their music and sort of introduce it to the rest of the world and pique our interest.
With that in mind, let's now look into the history of how K-pop concerts have been organized in India in the past.
For me, making performances 신나요, 신나요. 신나요 means in English it means exciting, but it's not enough. Shin means God. Actual meaning is God is arising. So making performance itself is 신나요, and from the recent time, and we continued into 2019. BAB concert, and December was to be a live concert in same year. So it is making performance is
very exciting
to make this world happier.
It was initially started off asking companies, telling them it's going to be fine, we can work it out and things like that, convincing them that there is a market in India. And then gradually over the years, I think I would say 2019 was a very, very good year for K-pop in India in general because a lot of groups came. So I think till 2018, 2019, especially 2019 was, things became slightly more better. It was easier to, speak with companies. We didn't have to convince them so much.
During our discussions and research for this video, we found that the major obstacles in hosting a large-scale K-pop concert in India can be boiled down to 2 major factors. Number 1, funding.
In order to put on a large-scale concert, it all comes down to money. You gotta have money to be able to get all the equipment, to get a venue, to get, marketing, promotion, everything. So it always starts with money, and money comes from sponsorship, which comes from brands. And that is basically, the main point of putting on a large scale event. Most people think that they can recover their budget through ticket sales. But in India, that's not the case because we can't make the ticket prices very high because most people can't afford it. And when the ticket prices are not very high, we don't really get to recover all the costs. So it all comes down to sponsorship. Plus, in India, we do have a lot of guest list situations and things like that, which I'm sure most of us are aware of. So that also kind of restricts the number of tickets we can sell.
India is very different from any other country in the world. We are very unique in how events and all are done over here. So depending on like we were talking about earlier, depending on what kind of formula, what kind of show, what kind of artist, whatever, all of this kind of stuff, right? Sponsors, everything shifts because a lot of the time, when I've had conversations with many musicians and stuff, it's shocking to them, the management, it's shocking to them that you can't use the same formula and pricing in India that you can use in other countries because our currency and all the system, payment, even, because the fans are so young, stuff like that, how much money we actually have in our pockets, all of that is so different from other countries, You have to create more packages and stuff for the audience to purchase because, you have to understand that the way like expenditure on concerts works over here is supremely different to how it works in other countries. So I have to
Cough, VIP
explain.
culture. Cough, VIP culture. Cough, VIP culture. Tables.
So it's very complicated. You know, it's super
I'm sure
complicated.
everybody has their own version of that,
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
right? But you gotta have the tables up front, right? The big pricey tables, you have to.
It's
And because they
done
do sell out.
globally.
We were unable to bring in the crowd even for a 700 rupees ticket. It was so then we understood that 700 rupees ticket does not get sold. There is a reason behind it, and 5,000 rupees ticket got all sold out.
I can't. Like it's extremely complicated. But if you put in that effort to understand it and maybe adapt a little bit, India is worth it, is what I would say.
The second obstacle is finding appropriate venues.
We don't have ready-made concert stadiums in that sense. Like you can take a Jawaharlal Nehru and convert it, but they're not really made for music festivals. Like in London and stuff, there's O2 and things like that, which are made predominantly for music. So you have in-house sound, and you have, everything is set up the way it's meant to set up. In India, we don't have that, right? But that doesn't mean that we can't put on large scale concerts. I was part of the Guns N' Roses India tour. I was taking care of artist relations, and we built the venue, so we had to get the sound, and some of the sound the artists had to bring themselves, some of the sound we had to use from India. So yeah, I mean, we can do large scale events. It's just it does take a little bit more work than say anywhere else abroad.
Realistically speaking, yeah, you would need like obviously big venue, but depending on the company. For example, if the company is not specific on the numbers, you don't really have to work on that. Most companies, they just got an artist fee, landed, not landed. So it's like with flights, without flights, or things like that. So once you set up that, they're not really very bothered with the numbers. It would also depend whether you're going to be doing indoor or outdoor, things like that. Those kind of things plays a very important role. I wouldn't say that this is the problem with bringing big artists, but I would just say that this is a problem with concerts in general, is the fact that the companies that we work that try to come, whatever, they sometimes they just want to do one place, right? So how do we choose that place? See, it's not like we don't have fans in India. Okay, we obviously have a lot of fans in India. I'm sure if you do statistics and all, also maybe like we would have more than the other neighboring countries, Asian countries as well. But it's a boon as well as maybe like a disadvantage for us at this present scenario, is what I'm trying to say, that we are spread all over the country, right?
Yeah.
Our fans, major of our fans, major Indian fans are still growing children, like teenagers, or like things like that. And honestly, it's not also about teenagers, like even us at some point, like for majority of us, I would say, I wouldn't say all of us, majority of us, even if you are like 20, 21, 22, 23, you would still have to ask your parents, right, to travel to another place. I mean, that's just how our culture is. To take a venue, to pick a venue which would be comfortable for everyone, that has to be a very important factor.
However, this does not mean that the future of K-pop concerts in India is bleak. In fact, we're all very optimistic.
South Asia is a huge market. It's an important market. I think fandoms here are incredible. I think they're incredibly passionate. And I just think I feel like, inroads are being made from here. I think we talked about streaming numbers going up and fandoms kind of, becoming larger and larger. I just feel I hope in 2021 and for, next couple of years, more comes from there. Because if that happens, it's gold. Don't ignore South Asia, right?
The presence of fans in India is something that nobody can deny now, whether it's the artists or whether it's the audience themselves. Like there is a sort of massive togetherness here that we've seen rise and being acknowledged, like especially with last year, I think a lot of companies, a lot of artists also acknowledged us. And I think that I know that the pandemic sort of put a pause on so much because there was so much that was supposed to happen. but at the same time, it also opened doors to more growth, more artists being discovered, existing artists who were all like already fans of their streaming numbers going up, and more new audiences in India finding them. There's just been a year of like growth, despite all the trouble that and hardship that everybody in the entire planet has faced. And like Ambika also said, that we can just hope that 2021, the latter half, or 2022, as things start up again gradually, that things are going to be incredible for India. Look, I feel like there is a massive change, a shift that happened over the past year in our country. Something changed where now everybody is just more aware of the movement of K-pop. So I feel like once like live shows and all kick in again, there's going to be a bigger eye on India than ever. Like that I can guarantee.
In my view, including K-pop and Korean wave will more prosperous only when there are more experimental collaborations between Korea and India.
Definitely.
Long time.
For a very long time.
Yeah, I was thinking about it. I studied about it. How we can make a collaboration, beautiful one. Artists must live in person and to create something together. Korean artists and Indian artists must meet.
All this talk of collaborations got us thinking about our favorite K-pop and Indian artist collab stage. I think mine would be Wolpagan and Diddy. What about you?
Mine would probably be Bobby and Divine.
EXO Chanyol and Bacha would make a nice collaborative or
Yeah.
like BM and Bacha.
It should be like Arman Malik and Eric Nam. So
I think Priyanka Chopra and Blackpink.
Jackson Wang and Ranveer Singh.
Arman and Kihyun. I think it would also be quite interesting to have a Korean producer
Yeah.
work like
Great. Like Code Codes.
at exactly the same time.
They have expressed interest also, which is lovely.
I think they produce one of our artists.
He's heard so many Indian artists too. He asked me for a list. So I had actually sent him like a bunch of Indian artists, and he really liked Raja and like Divine and stuff. So they're so curious about our industry, which is, I think, lovely.
Thanks for watching.
I was just going to say J-Park call me.